Hi there, welcome to class for today. We're going to look at half moon pose because it's the full moon on Monday, and so I thought that would be quite fitting for our class today. But you can do this class whenever. It doesn't have to be around the full moon if you're not around the full moon. So let's begin. Thank you, Harry. As usual, just taking a moment to connect to the space. So feel free to lie down, you can come to sit as I'm doing, just finding a comfortable position and checking in with yourself, with your breath for a moment. So closing your eyes, I will do so too. And wherever you are, feel yourself grounded, supported this moment. Check in with whatever parts of your body are in contact with the floor. Just allow yourself to release a little bit more there. And then begin to check in with your breath. So breathing through the nose, in and out through the nose. And becoming aware of where your breath is travelling in your body. So just noticing that, not trying to alter it or change it in any way. Just being conscious and aware. Taking a few breaths here. Perhaps you can feel the rise and fall in and around your chest. Perhaps it's around your ribs, your rib cage. Or perhaps further down towards your belly. Again, just notice, don't judge, bringing that awareness to yourself. Let's take 2 more breaths here. Feeling that, perhaps that calming sensation that comes when we focus on our breathing. If that doesn't come, that's okay too. When you're ready, begin to open your eyes. You might need a couple of blocks for this practice, so if you don't have those, just pause the video now, go and grab them, and we'll begin. So for half moon pose, we need to make sure that we are preparing our legs beforehand. So let's begin lying on our mats. I'm going to have to get rid of Harry now. Come on. On our backs, knees bent, and maybe, no, he won't stay. Just move out to the way a little bit, Harry, come here. That's it. So knees bent, and we're going to find that nice movement of the pelvis. So that nice rocking, gentle motion, backwards and forwards. It feels so good. Well, it does for me. I hope it does for you too. Okay, let's begin to now start lifting the hips into the air. So as your tail tilts up towards the sky, imagine someone's pulling that tail up towards the sky. Begin to engage your bottom, feet push into the floor as you slightly lift the hips into the air. You're not coming into a full bridge, just a slight lift and lower. Really squeezing into those muscles to create that movement. So finding that activation, wakening things up, really helps me to begin to start feeling my legs. I have a problem connecting to my legs sometimes. Okay, let's do a couple more. Again, you're going in your own time. You don't need to do the same motion at the same time as me, and you might also be incorporating your breath with this movement. So you might be inhaling up, exhaling down, or the other way around. You don't need to, though, either. Okay, when we get to the top once more, let's hold it there. Take a pause. Begin to shift. You can place the hands flat on the floor and begin to shift your weight into your left foot as you slowly lift up onto the tiptoes of your right foot, and see if you can begin to float that right foot into the air, trying to not really change the position of the upper part of your body so that the weight is really being taken by this left leg as much as possible. Really squeezing into that bottom, slight lift up and down. You might find that you're just lifting up onto the toes, like so, and then lowering the heel down. That might be enough for you. So find what works for you as we just explore this movement. Again, bringing a little bit of extra load to this left leg. Great. Let's do one more. Perhaps hold it up. You might even want to explore straightening that leg. How does that feel? Look down, just seeing if both hips are level. I needed to make a slight adjustment there. And let's slowly take it back down. Place the foot. You can release all the way down to the floor if you'd like to, or if you feel ready, shifting the weight now to that right foot. Again, engaging that right glute, lifting up onto those left toes, and perhaps the movement for you today is just lifting onto the left toes and lowering the heel. Or perhaps you explore lifting the whole leg as you really drive that right foot down into the ground to ensure that that movement is being supported by this right leg. And so trying not to move the upper part of your body as much as possible, trying to relax it. Obviously there will be a certain amount of tension there, but the majority of it, you're driving it down into that right leg. Okay, let's do one more. Hold it up. Hold it there. Perhaps, again, explore that straightening of that leg. You can point or flex the toes here, the foot. Again, just check down. Make sure the hips are level. And let's take it all the way back down again. Great. Rolling down. Let's just draw the knees in towards the chest for a moment. Give yourself a hug. You might want to draw the head up as well towards the knees, flex into the spine. Release back down. And perhaps rocking and rolling a few times to again allow yourself to feel a bit more sensation throughout your body. Let's do one more as we come to sit. Finding a comfortable position to sit. Just take a moment, check in. We'll continue with our wrists here. So if you do have one of your blocks, grab hold of it, pop it onto your left side, so I'm mirroring you here. Clamp your left forearm down onto the block and slowly begin to circle that hand around. So the movement is coming from the wrist and you're going nice and slowly to really start to activate those muscles around the joint to support this movement. Change direction when you feel ready. Again, nice and slowly, reducing that circle if you're feeling any tenderness, any pain, any strong sensation. And let's release, shake it out, take it to the other side, clamp that forearm down, circle round. Again, really squeezing here. And let's take it the other way. I tend to shake quite a lot when I do this, the amount of tension I'm bringing into the wrist, and that's totally okay. It's actually a good sign. It means that you're really focusing on those specific muscles. Shake it out. And we're going to make our way now onto our side. So whichever side is preferable for you, doesn't matter because we're going to do both. So come down, you can make a pillow for your head if you'd like to, and just bend both knees for a moment. We'll begin by straightening the top leg now. So the bottom leg, can stay bent, and straightening that top leg, reaching out through that heel as you begin to again find those muscles in and around the bum as you lift the leg up and down into the air. So you're not lifting it all the way up like so, just a slight lift up and down. So keep going your own time with your breath. Next time you have the leg lifted, begin to create small circles with that leg as though you're drawing a circle on the wall, the back of your mat. And you begin to make those circles larger, but controlled. So how large can you go? Maintaining that control. And then bringing them back smaller. Again, maintaining that control. Let's change direction, so start small. Let's get a little bit bigger. Movement coming from the hip. And then take it back to the smaller circles once more. Thinking about drawing that circle on the wall, the back of your mat. Good, release. You can bend the knee, place both knees together for a moment. And then we'll begin to tap the knee in front of your body, like so. And then slowly opening, lifting and tapping the toes behind you. It might mean that you don't place the knee onto the floor or the toes onto the floor if you start to feel a lot of rocking going on. We don't want that rocking. You want to stabilize. So really stabilize that bottom leg, stabilize that top hip, and allow that movement to come to the hip so that there's no overcompensation going on anywhere else. See if you can tap down. Doesn't matter if you can't. And behind. It's not about tapping down. It's about engaging those muscles to support this movement. Okay. Let's do a couple more. Let's do one more. So by now, perhaps your legs are feeling a little bit warmer. You can feel some sort of sensation going on there. Take a pause. Perhaps notice the difference between that side that you've just worked and the other side. And we're going to whiz over to the other side. So take your time. You can just turn over. I'm whizzing like this so that I'm not lying with my back to you. Nice and comfortable here to start off with. And then let's stretch that top leg out again. And using this hand to stabilise, you're just lifting and lowering a few times. Beginning to say hello to those muscles and around the hip. And let's start to draw that circle once more on that wall at the back of your mat. So start small and then get larger, but maintain that control. So slow, steady and controlled. Trying not to rock around too much. Let's go the other way. So larger and take it back smaller. I did it a little bit differently on this side, so let's do one small. Go the other way, smaller. Take it larger. And then larger, take it back the other way. To smaller. And by now, hopefully you do feel some sort of sensation in that leg. Bend both knees. And let's prepare once more for those knee and toe taps. So again, stabilising the lower body, using this hand on the floor to stabilise you as you tap that knee down in front of you. Again, doesn't matter if it touches the floor. And then open the hip to tap the toes behind. Again, really doesn't matter if they touch. Nice and slow, slow it down. I keep being reminded of this throughout my life at the moment. Everywhere, slow it down. It's a good lesson to learn. It reminds me of when I was climbing Kilimanjaro and the guides that were taking us up the mountain, they would say pole, pole, which means slowly, slowly. Because the only way you could actually get to the top of the mountain was by going slowly. Good lesson to learn. And it worked. We got to the top. Okay, let's take a pause. Feel that wonderful sensation now in and around your hip. Or perhaps not so wonderful. It feels good to me because, as I say, I find it difficult to connect to my legs, so it's nice to have any kind of sensation there. Coming up, let's come to all fours. So placing your hands under your shoulders for a moment and knees under the hips. And just feeling into your body here, feeling into your wrists, how they're doing. Perhaps feeling into the hips now that you've activated around there. Do you need to bring a little bit of movement into that lower part of your body? Okay, let's just bring a bit more activation to the wrists. So perhaps walking them around in all directions, pausing, seeing how they feel, taking your time. And perhaps flipping the palms as well. I'm going to flip one and then the other today. Just feeling into that sensation. And once you've done that, let's just come back to all fours for a moment and just begin to bring the bottom down towards the heels, nice and slowly, as you extend the fingertips up towards the sky. Extend at your wrists, the arms are straight. And then come back. So it's as though your hands are still on the floor, in fact, as you bring your bottom down towards the heels once more. See if you can maintain that position. Fingers extended up towards the sky, arms nice and straight, and come back. Let's do one final one so our wrists are nice and prepared. And coming back. Great. Again, just finding a little bit more movement throughout the spine, perhaps as you circle your body around. And again, feeling into your wrists as you do this. Perhaps you feel like you want to bend your arms as you circle around. Let's go the other direction. Okay, coming back. Taking a pause in your child's pose just to ground you for a moment. Head in contact with the floor as your arms reach out in front of you. A breath or two. And when you're ready, coming back up to sit. The final little activation I like to do before this standing sequence is to look at our 90-90 position. So, setting up for this, bringing your, let me just whiz around so I can do this properly. Bringing your one leg, your front leg, parallel with the top of your mat as your back leg becomes parallel to the side of your mat, like so, for your 90-90 position. So you're making these nice squares. So imagine you've got one square here with the front leg and a nice square here with that back leg. If you find that you're really sinking into this position here and you find that your pelvis is not really able to move, remember that you can sit yourself up onto a couple of blocks, like so, to find a bit more space, and you can bring your other block underneath the shin here. So take a moment just to set up, and then bringing your hands behind you slightly so that you can lean back a little bit, give yourself a bit more space here. You might be fine to lift the hands off. I tend to need mine on the floor for now. You're going to drive your front knee down into the mat, so really pushing it down into the mat to hold it there as you begin to slowly lift your back leg into the air as you really squeeze around that muscle to open. And let's take it back down. So you're not really allowing the pelvis to move right now, and down a few times. That movement is coming from that hip. Great. Let's begin now to turn towards that front leg. You can frame that front leg if you'd like to with your hands, like so, and you're almost, the chest is coming towards the front of the mat and this front leg once more. So perhaps framing, as I said, the leg here, as you begin to now see if you can lift that back foot slowly into the air. So up and down, it's as though you're pivoting from that knee. I'm actually going to bring my hands here. You can also do that without the hands in contact with the floor, perhaps. So beginning to feel those deep muscles working around this back hip. And if that feels okay for you, I'm just going to bring it in a little bit, like so. If that feels okay, perhaps you come down onto your elbows and see if you can now begin to float the whole of this back leg. So you're really grounding this front leg, really pushing that knee into the floor as you start to float and lift this back leg into the air. And you're trying to lift the knee and the foot at the same time, lifting it up and down a few times. And a further progression of that is to perhaps straighten that back leg as it's lifted and then draw it back in. So just play around with whatever version works for you right now. I'm going to just hold it out to the side for a moment and then draw it back in. Just place it back down as we come back up. So now begin to just turn the chest to the front and open the legs out. And here, just allow yourself to be a little bit more free with the movement. So allowing yourself to rock backwards and forwards. You might find your bottom starts to shuffle forwards as you do this. It feels really nice just to kind of release before the other side. Great. Let's come back to this other side. So when you land with your knees on the side that you haven't yet worked, stay there. We'll set back up. So again, looking down at your own legs. This front leg is parallel to the front of your mat, back of your mat, whichever way you're sitting. Back leg parallel to the side. And again, you're making that square with the legs. Turn, place the hands behind you. Now, this side for me is a little bit more challenging. So you're really drawing that front knee down to allow you to open that back leg. And again, you're trying to allow that movement to really come from the hip and not allowing the pelvis to move. As you squeeze. Okay, great. Place that knee down, turn to frame that front leg, and we'll see whether we can lift this back foot now. So nice and slowly, like almost pivoting on that knee, up and down. You can really feel it in this hip. And as we explored last time, perhaps coming down onto your arm, see whether you can lift the whole leg into the air and place it back down. Remember, you don't need to continue with this position if that first one was already enough for you. So you find the activation that works for you. So up and down a few times. And then again, perhaps you lift and straighten that leg. Bring it back in a few times. Really driving that front knee down into the mat. Can you hold it out to the side for a moment? Bring it back in. Brilliant, place the leg down. And again, let's find that nice shuffling. Backwards and forwards. Oh, it feels so good for the hips. Lovely. Come back. You can straighten your legs out for a moment if you'd like. Give them a little shake. Great. And let's come now to all fours once more. Just take a moment there, and then we're going to push back to our downward facing dog. So perhaps stepping the hands out a little bit further so that you can find your dog as you begin to lift your hips into the air and begin to find your downward facing dog. So checking in with your body today. Let's start with the hands, so really focusing on that foundation in the hands, perhaps a little grip with the fingertips as you begin to push the floor away with the hands so that you activate in and around the shoulders here. Head and neck are released, but you're pushing the floor away. And then you can perhaps pedal the feet if that feels good for you today. Perhaps you find that movement of the pelvis that we explored at the beginning of class. My hamstrings feel really, they're not ready yet for my legs to be straightened. And so I'm going to keep that slight bend in my knee here. One more breath. And let's begin to slowly walk the feet towards the hands. So coming up onto your tiptoes as you walk in, and you might even come up on tenting your fingertips as well to be able to find this. As you walk in, release the upper part of your body, release your arms, your head, flexing into your spine. I have again that slight bend in my knees here, just to give a little love to my hamstrings. They're not ready yet. And slowly let's begin to roll up to stand. Coming to stand, taking a pause, a moment in your mountain pose as you just recalibrate is the word that's coming to me. I don't know where that word came from, but it wants to be said. Okay. One more breath. Okay. Let's just give our hamstrings a little bit more love here. And so let's incorporate it with our half sun salutation. As you inhale, let's open both arms up, so palms facing up. As you reach up towards the sky, hands, palms come together. And whilst you're here, find that lift as though you're reaching up towards a bar over your head. So the ribs even lift to give yourself more space, but then see if you can just release the neck. So you keep that lift and that space, but the neck and head are released. You're not shrugging the shoulders up so much towards the ears that you feel uncomfortable. One more breath. And then let's begin to turn the palms away from you as though you're pushing something down towards the ground. As you activate here your legs, have a slight bend in the knee, the tilting the pelvis, so you're hinging at your hip to come all the way down to your forward fold. Release there for a moment, release the head and the neck. And then let's inhale, halfway lift. And let's just pause here on this halfway lift, knowing that this is where we can add a little bit of activation for our hamstrings. You might want to bring your hands onto your hips. Again, thinking about bringing your body parallel to the floor. Don't forget your head and neck. I tend to do that a lot, so I need to bring it back into alignment. And then let's slowly hinge back up to stand. Let's do that once more. Inhale, open both arms up, palms up and towards one another. Find that lift. And your exhale, palms away from one another as you float down. Again, hinge at the hip, slight bend at the knee. Pause perhaps on your way down. Bring your hands to your hips here. Okay. Whilst we're here, let's grab our block. Place it in between our legs. Find that squeeze of the legs. Again, making sure that the body is parallel to the floor. And you might be here, but you're still, so you don't need your body parallel to the floor, but you're maintaining those neutral curves in your spine. That's what I'm trying to say. You might be here, it doesn't matter whether you're not able to get completely parallel to the floor. Okay, when we're ready, slowly going to hinge back up this time. Take your time, squeeze that block in between the legs. Begin now, if you would like to lift one foot into the air. You can also keep just the block there and keep that squeeze, up to you. Lift one leg into the air, find that hinge at the hip. So again, imagine someone's pulling that tail towards the back of your mat as you come down, feeling into that hamstring. We'll do a few of these. Just really preparing ourselves for the little flow that I've got planned, our moon sequence. So let's say when you've done around 4 or 5, and you can feel it sufficiently in your own hamstring, you can take a pause and swap over for the other side. I'm actually going for 6 here. Okay, place the foot down. Little tap. And we'll come to the other side, a nice love tap. So tail towards the back of the room, squeeze that block, slight bend in that knee, down we go. And remember what I was talking about, pulley, pulley. Slowly, slowly, with my Swahili accent. Keep moving in your own time. The slower you go, the better. If you're wobbling around, that's totally okay. It's expected. I'm going to fall out. And if you're using both feet on the floor, that's totally okay too. Just keep making sure that you're squeezing that block. That's for everybody. Okay, once you've done the same amount on both sides, let's release, place the block down. Give yourself that little love tap, shake. Yes, good. Okay, I think we might be ready to find our little flow. So I'm going to have a drink and then I'll take you through it. So let's come to the top of the mat. Take a breath or two. Get your breath back, perhaps. I need to. And we'll begin our flow with tree pose. So let's begin all our weights on the right foot and begin to find that external rotation of your left leg. So perhaps lifting up that left leg. In fact, I'll turn so that you can see. I'll mirror. So lifting up that left leg and seeing if you can rotate that leg out to the side from the hip just a few times so that you're finding that external rotation before we come to our tree. So your muscles should feel really activated and ready for this, hopefully. Let's do that a few times as you turn that foot out to the side, coming from the hip, and then begin to draw that foot in towards the body. So you have a choice. You can stay with the toes in contact with the floor. You can begin to glide your foot a little higher up the leg. Again, making sure that you really maintain that activation of the leg. Taking a breath. And you can begin to add the arms. So let's take the arms up and overhead. So finding that lift that we explored earlier. Take hold of that bar overhead. Reach. And then let's slowly begin to transition that foot back behind you. So you're bringing the knee back in towards you, out of that external rotation, to step it all the way back behind you to find a high lunge. Take your time here to find your high lunge. Let's just take a moment to check in. Activate those legs really strong, pushing the feet down into the floor to find that activation as you reach out through the arms up overhead. And slowly, maintaining the arms overhead, you're going to begin to bend that knee and place it down onto the floor, your back knee. Release those back toes. Place the hands onto the hips. See if you can find movement of your pelvis here, backwards and forwards. Okay, the next time your pelvis, your tail is pulled towards the back of your mat, allow it to stay there as you begin to straighten this leg out in front of you and hinge at your hip once more here, just to find a nice stretch in that hamstring. Taking a breath. Slowly come back up, place the foot, and we're going to find our warrior two. And so you can begin to squeeze those legs together towards one another. As you come up to your high lunge, hands can do whatever they like, your arms for the moment. So really squeezing the legs in towards one another as you find that swivel on that back toe, that back foot, to open your hips out to your warrior two. Slowly, slowly. Pulley, pulley. Finding your warrior two as you add your arms. And just pause here for a moment. Okay, let's take both arms up overhead. Find that lift once more as you reverse your warrior with both arms up overhead, finding that length in your body. Keep activating that leg, pushing that front leg into the floor, the front foot. As you slowly then come over to your side angle, again with both arms overhead. However, if this is a little bit much, you can also bring the hands to the hips. You get to choose. You got your side angle here. Okay, we're going to transition to our half moon pose from here. So you might want your block, placing it in front of that front foot. And you're just going to wiggle your back foot forwards a little bit as you begin to transition. In fact, I need a little bit more space. I'm going to bang my head on the wall. So you're going to begin to transition your weight onto this right leg here. Make sure you have enough space. The block isn't too close to this foot. Okay, so you're here and you begin to transition the weight. Keep a slight bend in that standing leg as you lift the left leg into the air. Okay, begin to float the left arm up into the air too. to find your half moon. Everything is nice and active as you breathe here. I'm falling out as I turn to look at you. Okay. So maintaining the position. Let me see if I can find it again. Balance is not my forte. And then slowly, if you'd like to, begin to bend your back leg, come up to stand and draw everything into a little ball. Okay? So flexing into your spine, and then slowly begin to find that half moon once more. There we go. Whew. When you're ready, you're going to take it back to your warrior two. Oh wow, I've got lots of cramp in that right bum. Coming back to your warrior two. Taking a breath or two. And then let's slowly find that swivel once more. So lifting up onto the toes as you swivel the hips on that toe all the way towards the front of your mat to take it down, place the hands and step back to your downward facing dog. Taking a breath or two here, feeling free to come to child's pose if you'd like to. We'll prepare for the other side. Okay. So making sure you have your block nearby. I'm just going to turn around so that I don't have my back to you. So when you're ready, you're going to walk your feet towards your hands once more. You can tiptoe them all the way forwards if you'd like to. And let's roll all the way back up to stand. And check in with your mountain. Okay, ready to go again? Let's go. So this time your weight's coming to your left foot. So shift the weight onto the left foot as we did on the other side and begin to find that external rotation at the hip for the right leg. So a few times, and then when you're ready, begin to glide that foot into your tree pose. And that might mean that the toes stay in contact with the floor. It might mean that you begin to glide them up a little bit more up the leg. When you're ready, begin to take the arms overhead and find that lift, taking hold of that bar up overhead, as we did before. And then nice and slowly, bringing that leg back to centre, the knee back to the centre, as you bend the left leg and slowly, slowly take that right leg back behind you for your high lunge. So bending the knee here, really pushing that front foot into the floor, the back foot. You can have a slight bend in the knee if you'd like. One more breath. And then let's slowly release down to our low lunge. Place the knee. You can release the arms, release the back toes. Find that movement of your pelvis. Tilt backwards and forwards. And when you're ready, begin to straighten that left leg. Tail is being pulled towards the back of your mat, so you're hinging at your hip to come down and find that stretch in that front leg. So notice I'm not flexing here into the spine. I'm hinging at the hip. Keep drawing the legs towards one another. I'm wobbling around all over the place. I don't know if you can see. That's why I'm laughing at myself. Okay, let's release, come back up. Place the foot. So we're here in our low lunge. We're going to make it up to our high lunge to transition to our warrior two as we did last time. So squeezing the legs towards one another as you slowly, slowly rise up. Pulley, pulley. Find that swivel on that back foot as you open to your warrior two. Arms at shoulder height. Just pause here for a moment, check in. Does your body need anything right now? Do you need to, as I just did, come out and then perhaps go back in? Let's find our reverse warrior as we bring both arms up overhead, find that length, and then reverse. And we'll shift it to the other side, to our side angle. Remembering you can regress this by removing the arms. Okay, let's come back to our warrior two. And again, we'll prepare for our half moon. So you're wiggling that back foot in a little bit, making sure that you're prepared with your block. And let's get ready. I was just going to say, I always underestimate or overestimate where to put my block. It's difficult. So when you're ready, you find that little launch. So you're launching forwards onto that front foot. Oh, I must remember to not take balance poses around this time of my cycle. So it's really squeezing to that back leg to find your half moon. And you're not really dumping lots of weight into this block here. I'm just using it just to stabilise myself because I certainly need that today. So once you've found your half moon and you're reaching out through that back heel, perhaps add the arm as you hold it here. I'm not going to turn my head this time because it makes me fall out. And again, like we did last time, see if you can perhaps draw the knee in, and you're going to come into a little ball as you flex, and perhaps bring the knee and the elbow towards one another. So the hand that was on the block comes to the knee that was floating out behind you, and you bring it back. Should we do that once more? Oh, it's really burning. Oh. And taking it back, wobbling around. Find your warrior two once more. Whew. Yeah. Lovely. Let's take it down. So find that swivel. As you lift up onto your back toes, begin to turn to find your low lunge. Take it down, hands down. Step yourself back. Downward facing dog. Push the floor away. And just check in with your downward facing dog here. Perhaps it's altered a little bit since the start of class. I know that my hamstrings feel a lot happier now than they did at the beginning. Let's take one more breath. Okay. We're going to flow through that once more, a little bit more speedily this time. So we're going to pop pulley to one side and go a little bit quicker. So let's get ready. Coming to the front of your mat, make sure you have your block ready once more if you need it. Coming to your mountain pose. And let's find our tree. All the weight this time onto the right leg. And bringing the left leg into your tree as you lift your arms up overhead. I'm going to give less instruction this time. So when you're ready, bringing that left knee back to centre as you take the foot back behind you to find your high lunge. Check in with your high lunge and slowly lower down the low lunge. Release those back toes. Find that tilt in your pelvis. As you hinge at your hip to just find a slight stretch in that front leg, which feels ever so good for me. Harry's in here snoring, as you can hear perhaps. Begin to bend that front leg. Let's make it back up to our warrior two. So squeezing both legs together as you swivel and open to your warrior two. Take both arms up overhead as you reverse that warrior. Take it to your side angle. Take it back to your warrior two as we prepare for our half moon. So wiggle that back foot in a little bit begin to find that little launch into your half moon. I'm going to just set up again, placing that hand onto the block, slight bend in the knee as you come up. And you might want to hold a hand on the hip, or you might want to float it into the air. And as we did last time, bending this left leg as you bring it towards the right elbow, like so. And then coming back to your half moon. Ooh, can we do it? And again, bending, flexing into the spine, knee to elbow, and take it back. Lovely. Allow your back foot to fall, finding your warrior two once more. Lift to come back down. Place the knee. Step your front foot back to meet your back for your downward facing dog. Take a breath or two. And you can begin to walk your feet towards your hands and roll all the way back up to stand. Second side. All the weight onto the left foot. Find your tree. Arms up overhead, reach. Finding your high lunge. Take your time. Allow that foot to drop gently behind you. Squeeze the legs in towards one another. As the knee drops down towards your low lunge, release your toes. Straighten that front leg. Find that movement of your pelvis as you stretch, hinge towards it. You're not flexing into your spine here. When you're ready, place that foot. As you come back up, finding your warrior two. Both arms come up overhead. Reverse that warrior. Side angle. Come back to your warrior two. And last time for our half moon here. So when you're ready, we step that back foot forwards and slowly make it into your half moon. Taking a breath or two. You might even float your hand off this block and see once more whether we can bring the knee and elbow together. I'm going to release the arm down, in fact. Coming back to your half moon, gently dropping back to your warrior two, and then transitioning for the final time to take it down. Placing your hands to your downward facing dog. For the final time here. Again, checking in with your dog, how it's feeling right now. When you're ready, dropping the knees down. Coming to your child's pose. Reconnecting to your breath. Let's take one more breath there. And slowly transitioning onto the floor to lie on your back. So in whatever way feels good for you, rolling down to come to lie down. Taking a few breaths here. Allowing your breath to return to normal. And if you feel called to, you can draw your knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a hug. Perhaps rocking from side to side. And then releasing. Coming back to your Shavasana. If your body needs anything else before your final relaxation, please feel free to take that now. Otherwise, settle in for your final relaxation. And take the time that you need to rest. So as long as you need to spend here. I'm going to leave you now. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I hope you enjoyed class. If you have any comments, do feel free to leave them. And I look forward to leading you very soon again. Thank you.